In January of 2004, 22 sailors from 6 countries traveled to Blairgowrie Yacht Club outside of Melbourne, Australia to compete in the inaugural International Foundation of Disabled Sailors Single-Person Dinghy World Championships. This was a unique regatta. All the competitors were classified as seriously disabled or very seriously disabled. Sailors from Japan, the U.S., Great Britain, Portugal, Greece, Australia, and Hungary all came. The range of physical challenges included conditions such as paraplegia, quadriplegia, muscular dystrophy, and cerebral palsy. For this extraordinary regatta to proceed, a multitude of unique problems needed to be identified and overcome. The sailors themselves presented a major challenge. The varying physical capabilities presented a major test, as each sailor was secured into seats so that their bodies were stable when sailing at a 45-degree angle of heel. Many sailors in Fleet A had no upper body function, and as such, would have been incapable of righting themselves if they fell sideways. Sailors in this fleet had no arm strength and were incapable of holding on with their hands. The control boxes with electronic joystick and sheeting controls needed to be positioned individually within the reach of each sailor's moving part.
The average sailing boat and all the recognised classes that are used are just terrible examples of universal design because they're most inaccessible, discriminatory, one of the most discriminatory sports around. Whereas what we're doing is universal design. Sailing boats that are accessible to everyone.
The single-person dinghy world championships were made possible because of the Access Liberty. Innovative features of Liberty enable the boat to be sailed by people with very severe disabilities. They're able to utilize any moving part to control the boat. Special design features allow the sailors to remain dry at 45-degree angle of heel. The twin rudders guarantee directional stability, and the ballasted centerboard ensures the Liberties will not capsize. The designer and manufacturer, Chris Mitchell, shows us how some of the special controls work.
Now I can sail the boat manually. Okay. And you can see the tillers are moving here. Right? Now when you're hard on the wind and heeling over, this thing has a little bit of weather helm, so that the joystick's trying to come up here. You just use a bit of finesse, and you can just keep a couple of finger weight on here. There's none of this business needed. It's really very light, and the boat is extremely well balanced.
Sailing, as many can now see, is more dependent on brains and technique rather than the physical aspect of most other sports. So people with severe disabilities can sail.
This is a magnetic reed switch in here, and this is a little magnet that I've taped onto here. Now, I can move this to anywhere, and I'll put it here where it suits me. So I'm steering the boat, or I'm working the sheets, and I want to work main only. Now it's main only. Now I'm back in sync. I don't have to touch it, I just go near it. There are other types of switches we can use that don't need a magnet. All you've got to do is touch it. Another sort of joystick is, this is sip and puff. One straw, the starboard side is going to do the steering. Sip, S, is for starboard. Puff is for port. But I've got a lot of control over that.
The thing that I think is so striking about what happened in Australia was you're taking a boat that's as simple as any that the Egyptians sailed. You have a tiller that makes the boat go back and forth, and you have a piece of line that pulls the sails in and out. The only thing that's different about this is it's made extremely stable so that it won't tip over with somebody who is disabled in it. but you're using an electronic piece of technology that's doing the work for you. So all you're doing is amplifying whatever minimal movement anyone has. The basic boat itself, the principles that sail, are exactly the same as all sailboats anywhere. South Australian Andrew Hartley became the first ventilated quadriplegic in history to compete in a world's event at any sport. As a result of a rugby accident 22 years ago, Andrew broke his neck and is dependent on a ventilator to breathe 24 hours a day. Having no movement from the neck down, Andrew steers and trims the sail using chin controls. As a competitive sportsman, Andrew is thrilled to have the opportunity to compete again. Andrew said, "As a severely disabled person, to sail single-handed in a highly competitive environment is a wonderful opportunity. This gives me a sense of freedom and exhilaration that I don't experience in any other aspect of my life. There's no other sport in which I can compete at any level." To be able to compete at the highest level on an equal footing is usually something the severely disabled can only dream about. Andrew is the first ventilator-dependent quadriplegic to compete in a World Championship sailing competition and possibly in any world sporting event.
Wendy Evans from Australia first became involved in sailing 7 years ago. This was the beginning of a new and very exciting stage of Wendy's life. It was certainly something she never thought she would ever do. Wendy has cerebral palsy. This affects her coordination and causes her to have a lot of involuntary movements. She uses a motorized wheelchair for mobility and independence on land. Wendy competed in her first sailing event in 1998. She had never been in a real race before and was not sure of how to get around the course. After being guided around initially, Wendy improved her racing ability and came in second in Division 2. She was also awarded the Encouragement Award. Little did Wendy realize at the time that these two trophies were the start of many. She has competed in 2 Masters games, 5 state championships, 5 Australian championships, and 2 international championships, the most recent of which was a trip to France. Wendy was overwhelmed by the fact that she was representing her country in a sport that means so much to her. Wendy came home from France with a 3rd-place trophy. Being able to be in control of everything while on the water makes her feel very good to be alive. Now she's able to do a physical sport alongside able-bodied sailors. It's an exciting adventure in Wendy's life.
We've met Herb before. He's the chairman of U.S. Sailing's Committee on Sailors with Special Needs. He was enjoying a sail in San Francisco Bay in July in 1993. The boat was a Rhodes 50. He got caught up in the Genoa sheets and was pulled forward suddenly. He struck his head on a bench, causing a spinal cord injury. He instantly became a quadriplegic. He says it's truly a wonderful feeling to be able to sail again. The youngest competitor is 15-year-old Amy Barnbrook of Narooma, Australia. She was born with no arms and a quarter of a leg with a foot and 3 toes. Amy controls the steering and sheets of her sailboat with a control box positioned near her foot. There were several times I saw Amy in her chair looking down, seemingly asleep, but what I realized she was doing was playing a video game with her toe, the same way she controls her chair and the sailboat. Amy started sailing in 1995. She feels she's limited in participating in some sporting activities, but has become committed to sailing and has achieved international status in the Access 2.3 class. Amy first participated in the national championships in 1996 and since won state and national titles. Amy's been an inspiration for many, including Nava George, who we've met at other events. Panagiotis Tsinkanos from Greece was left a quadriplegic after a car accident in 1987. He had been sailing as a boy. He sailed in Optimists, Lasers, 420s, as well as other boats. But after the accident, his condition was so severe he was unable to even sit in a wheelchair without being secured in it. 9 years later, after many operations and physical therapy, he managed to go to the University of Athens and graduate as a biology major. He got involved in computer programming and started his own business in 2001. For Panny, sailing represents the magic in his life. I'm not interested in luring the prize, he concedes. The World Regatta is by itself very important for upgrading of persons with severe disabilities life status. Being part is all the money for me. There are many dedicated organizations from all over the world that help people with disabilities through the magic of sailing. Some of the more prominent ones in the U.S. that I know of are Shake a Leg in Miami and Newport, there's Crab in Maryland, Sailing Alternatives in St. Pete and Sarasota, Sail Habitation in New Jersey, BADS is run out of California. Chicago has the Independence Cup every summer. These are dedicated, hard-working volunteers from all over who've donated extraordinary efforts to enrich people's lives through sailing.